Allow us to take you on a journey to the early civilizations. We'll go as far as early Egypt all the way to the Renaissance. We start our trek in Egypt. Egyptian citizens considered their pharaohs half man, half god. Pharaohs were the kings or queens of Egypt. The majority of the pharaohs in history were men, but there were also a few women such as Cleopatra and Nefertiti. The pharaohs were the head of government and the highest priest in the temples. The pharaohs, when they died, were buried in pyramids. Pyramids were amazing, great structures found in Egypt. They were unbelievably man-made from rock and stone. They are the tombs of the pharaohs, and only about 50 pyramids have survived up until now. The pyramids were typically surrounded by temples and courtyards where the dead buried in the pyramid can enjoy their afterlife. Also found in the temples, along with monuments and statues, were hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphs were the written language of the Egyptians and was considered as a dead language. It was not until the 18th century when the Rosetta Stone was discovered. It was a black stone that contained both the Greek language and the Egyptian hieroglyphs. It was one of the biggest accidental discoveries of that time because now the Egyptian language could be revived. We now travel into the time of India, an Eastern classical era. The caste system was a system in which the people of India were classified in a specific social category. Imagine a pyramid. At the bottom you have the lowest and poorest class, called the Shudra. They are the common people, peasants. Next up, you have the Vaishya, the merchants and landowners. On the third level, you have the Kshatriya, the warriors. And at the very top, the highest level and richest, is the Brahmin, the priest. Buddhism believed in something called reincarnation. Reincarnation is the belief that one's soul is reborn over and over again after death until the individual has abandoned all earthly desires.
Beautiful. Must have. Oh.
Eightfold Path is also very important to the Buddhist religion. The Eight Folds are the principal teachings of Buddha. It is described as the way of suffering and achievement of self-awakening from greed and hatred. The Gupta Empire lasted from 320 to 550 CE and covered much of the Indian subcontinent. It was founded by Maharaj Srigupta. During the time of this empire was the Indian Golden Age. It was a time of peace and prosperity. One of the many greatest achievements from this empire was the concept of zero. Moving on, we now look at Rome. The Pax Romana was a time of peace and minimal military force. It marked the end of the Roman Republic, but it started with the victory of Augustus in the Battle of Actium. The Romans had come up with beautiful structures such as aqueducts, arches, and dome-shaped roofs. It was unlike any other structures in their time. The conversion of Constantine is one of the biggest religious turnarounds for Rome. It all started when the Catholic Constantine, an emperor of Rome, has a vision from God. He had prayed for a victory in the upcoming battle. When he had looked up at the sun, he saw a sign from God. He saw a cross in the sun, as a voice told him, "Conquer by this." He then went into battle the next day, adorning his soldiers' armor with the cross. They won the battle, and all their thanks went to God. Unfortunately, an incredible empire such as Rome just had to end. There was political instability, failed military, and rebellion inside the empire. Islam had spread because of a prophet named Muhammad, as he started preaching about a message he received from God. He later died and left the debate of the next caliph. Although he did not leave any detail of his next heir, he did leave the Quran. The Quran is a piece of literature with 114 chapters. It is proof of Muhammad's prophethood and is considered a holy, sacred book. The 5 pillars are considered the foundation of Muslim life. They are the 5 basic acts in Islam. They are faith, prayer, charity, fasting, and pilgrimage. These not only focus on the individuals, but also the needy. Islam spread starting from the Middle East to North Africa and to Spain. As Islam was conquered by the Turk, the Muslim population was forced to convert to Christianity, but after the invasion of the Mongols, the conquerors ended up converting to Islam. The Mongols were fierce people that lived in Russia, Europe, and China, concentrated in the steppes of Asia. 2 of the most famous Mongols are Genghis Khan and Kublai Khan. Genghis Khan was a fierce Mongol that believed that if he united Asia, his empire would become stronger. He founded one of the greatest Asian empires that has stretched all the way across Eurasia. Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, founded the Yuan dynasty and was the emperor of China. His achievements were later recorded in Marco Polo's book, which brought attention to Kublai Khan's empire and his accomplishments.
I founded this to make it a flourishing empire for me and my people. I'm sorry it's the monsoon season right now. Let's go inside and talk, shall we?
Very well. I must say, it is an immense accomplishment.
Feudalism was a system of society in the medieval Europe. It illustrated the relationship between the commoners, knights, barons, and kings. In exchange for land, the commoners gave the knights foods and services. In exchange for land, the knights gave the barons protection and services.
I'll give you this land.
In exchange for land, the barons gave the king money and knights.
And I'll give you this land.
The church also had a role. There was also the unforgettable Crusades. This was a series of wars between the Christian and Muslims over the Holy Land, Jerusalem. The Renaissance took place in Italy that later spread across Europe. It was a cultural movement that happened in the late Middle Ages. During this time, language, art, literature, math, science, and religion fast-forwarded. There was, unfortunately, during this peak of change, a plague broke out among the people. It was called the bubonic plague, better known as the Black Death, and it killed many people, making the populations decline. Humanism was thought of as a method of learning. It was focused on shaping and understanding the intellect of the individual. This was done by thinking outside the box and studying literature outside of the religion topic. Painting and sculpting was almost literally brought into a whole new dimension. Paintings were focused on realistic techniques that bring the paintings to life, and sculptors also worked on techniques to make their statues almost lifelike. Music, math, and science have also evolved and improved because of the invention of the printing press, allowing things once not accessible like books within reach of commoners. During the Renaissance was a Protestant Reformation. The priests would sell indulgences. If people bought these, then it was believed the time they would spend in purgatory, a place in the afterlife in which you make up for your sins before you go to heaven, would be shorter. Martin Luther, a Catholic monk, saw that something was wrong with this system and wanted to change it. His actions caused an unintentional split in the Catholic Church and brought forth the Counter-Reformation. And back at the world today, you can tell we have changed as the time went by, but we couldn't have done it without them.
Run! Get out of the way! I'm Genghis Khan. It's my turf now, you hear me? Get out of the way! I'm Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan. Get out of the way! I'm Genghis Khan. This is my turf. From now on, you hear me? I'm Genghis Khan. This is my turf. Ah, my shoe got caught in the door. Taking me over, guys. Hey.
What?